Hurricane Harvey, August the 26th, 2017, just a few weeks ago. And all of us were impacted by this hurricane, especially us here in Texas, but then it did affect Louisiana. And even right now as I speak, Irma is working its way up to Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee, but it's been downgraded. So the purpose of this video is just to let you know that I have been praying for all of you affected by Harvey, and yes, Irma too. But for Harvey, I've been praying. I may not know your name. I know the names of some of you, and there was a catastrophic loss of life, property, animals, infrastructure. So a lot of bad things happened, and all I want to do is encourage you as you recover, as you pick up the pieces and you head on back to your life. But then your life won't be the same, especially those that were directly impacted by this disaster. So what I want to do is I want to present you with a few things, but I also want to let you know that I did work the 1994 floods here in Houston, where 8 people died then. And so what I was in charge of doing through a mental health grant is, as a team leader, providing mental health services to the flood, well, they were called victims first, but then the survivors in the 1994 floods. Everybody above Interstate I-10, all the way up, that's Harris County, all the way up to the border of Montgomery County. And 8 people died in that one. There was a tremendous loss of life that way. And but just in comparison, this Harvey, I heard today that the death toll is up to 70, and million cars got destroyed, and trillions of gallons came and fell on Houston and the surrounding areas. And so I want to say that all of us have been affected by this flood, some more directly than others, but so there are primary and secondary survivors. And do not be surprised. I know as you were going through it, it was extremely stressful. Some of you had to leave and lose property and get out with your life. And others, got caught in traffic jams, no gas, infrastructure problems, bayous, rivers, lots of problems. And I have been and will continue to pray for all of you. What I want to focus on a little bit here is, what about the children? So whether the children got affected directly, which is a serious thing, or indirectly, where they watched the news, they knew about that, the disaster, they didn't go to school because of it, and their families, you had to hunker down and do what you can to preserve them and your property, and make decisions that were extremely difficult. And now that the water has receded some, and most of the roads are back in operation, still there's been a lot of traffic jams and domino effect problems here related to that disaster. You yourself as an adult may have some post-traumatic stress type symptoms, like just the stress-related things that you would have in a disaster, difficulty sleeping, some depressive thoughts, anxiety, a loss of a sense of control, all these types of things. So with children, they went through a lot of that too, and especially those directly impacted. I mean, people that had to be carried out by boats, and a very sad and serious thing here. So what I have here is, this is prepared by FEMA and the Red Cross, and this is called Helping Children Cope with Disaster. Now, this is also for parents and people that have children while the disaster is going on, and also after the disaster. And so there are just some basic things here that I would talk about. And one of the things is that children depend on routines. And again, I will give you the address right now to this if you want to get this little pamphlet, if they even still make it. I got this back in 1994. So you write to FEMA, Post Office Box 70274, Washington, D.C., zip code 20024. And I'm sure you can call them and get this information too. And the Red Cross has a lot of information. FEMA does too. But just as a mental health counselor and a Christian counselor at that, I would just encourage you just to monitor your children, to reassure them of whatever you can of the safety. And as believers, as Christians in Jesus Christ, that this is not a surprise, this disaster to him. And he knows all about it. And even though you may have some spiritual questions about that, your faith has been rocked, he still is the God of the universe. And so for children in disasters, after the disaster, you try to help them return back to the normal routines as well as good as possible. I know some of you are probably in shelters, you're displaced, horrible things you've had to go through. But try to bring that sense of security back into their lives the way it was before the hurricane, before the storm, before all the turmoil and the trouble. And that would be their daily routines, waking up, breakfast, things like that. And also your anxiety is contagious to their anxiety. So as hard as it is, you try to give them more of a peace and a serenity, even when you're stirred up inside. I know that's difficult to try to do that and share openly with them that, you know, this was a traumatic event and we are going to get through it. And one of the good things that I noticed too is that, and it's such an outpouring of love, people that didn't know each other, it's been all over the news. There are stories everywhere about how people came together helping people. You can't just stay still and have this go on and do nothing. So people came out, they volunteered their boats, people, it was an outpouring of money and time and moving debris and so forth. You've probably seen a lot of videos, you've watched the news on that. So with children, after the disaster, they are most afraid that, number one, the event will happen again. Number two, that someone will be injured or killed. Number three, that they will be separated from family. And number four, that they will be left alone. And that's some of the things in this brochure by the Red Cross and FEMA. And so it's important to reassure your children and prepare disaster plans. You know, many of you are already prepared anyway with the generators and the food and what you were going to do if this happened or that happened, listening to the radios. But the thing is, you develop a disaster plan and you teach your children how to recognize the disaster signals. And so I just want to refer you, I don't want to make this a long video, to this pamphlet. But also, I want to encourage you that as your children go through this, and they will have wounds, they will have some scars, they will have memories, but as you go through it and you restore and become restored, and it will take time, and there will be ups and downs, there will be depression, there will be anxiety, not with everybody, but with some. And so just to stay on top of this, and for you believers that are listening to this and watching me in this video, know that God is still the God of the universe. This is not a surprise to him, and that he does love you, and he is in the business of restoration. And he will use a disaster like this to bring good out of it. I just know this. I know this personally. I know this professionally. I have seen this. And so I want to encourage you. I want to let you know that I am praying for all of you. And I just want you to know that. God bless you. God bless you.